Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we have a long-awaited follow-up to Kevin in a Big Rig. Coming to us from Strong Bad Jr., this is Kevin in a Big Rig, OP versus Dispatch. Let's jump right in. Hello everyone, Strong Bad Jr. here. I know it's been a long time since I posted an installment of Kevin in a Big Rig. However, my real life has had quite a few major milestones in a relatively short period of time. Just a quick rundown: got married, quit my job, going back to school, and bought a house. I'm actually writing this while the missus thinks I should be working. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Kevin in a Big Rig, OP versus Dispatch. And before you ask, no cliffhanger. Late one evening, my student and I were trucking north on Interstate 84 through rural Oregon on our way to Portland. My student, let's call him Steve, was driving, and since it was the first time he was driving at night, I decided to ride shotgun and make sure he didn't fall asleep or run into trouble. To Steve's credit, he was doing quite well for a rookie. While going through a rocky area, I explained to Steve that at night, he had to be aware of sharp curves in the road, since taking one too fast could cause him to lose control and flip the truck over. He was still doing fine, slowing down before the curve and keeping the truck in the lane. When the road went through a narrow, rocky cutout, I was explaining to Steve that things such as boulders or stalled vehicles could be a hazard on a road with narrow shoulders. Just then, as if on cue, I saw something very close to the road. It wasn't a rock or a vehicle, it was a deer. Kevin saw it too, and I could feel him start to tense up. Just relax, I told him calmly. Slow down, keep an eye on him, and whatever you do, don't swerve. Steve nodded and backed off the accelerator as we got closer. The deer was grazing, and my hope was that it would keep on doing so as we passed. In my experience, deer that graze near major roadways tend to be comfortable doing so, and are not likely to bolt out in front of you. As it happened, this deer wasn't as comfortable as I expected. With less than 20 feet between us, the deer panicked and ran right in front of the truck. "Whoa, whoa," I said, signaling with my hand for Steven to start braking, which he did perfectly. Unfortunately for the deer, a fully loaded semi doesn't stop quickly, and I felt a thud as the animal struck the front of the truck. "Damn it," I swore as the truck jarred. I looked over at Steven who, while rightly nervous, was still firmly in control. "Pull over," I told him. "Get us off the road as much as you can and turn on the flashers. I'll check the damage." Steven nodded, pulled off on the extremely narrow shoulder and set the brakes. I grabbed my flashlight, jumped out, expecting the worst. Hitting a deer with a truck was always a crapshoot. Shattered hoods from the impact, flat tires from antlers, I've even seen ruptured coolant hoses. In other words, it's always best to check the truck out after hitting a deer. I checked the hood first, expecting a smashed grille or at the very least a destroyed bumper. To my surprise, the only obvious damage was a busted headlight and a few small chips in the paint. Both front tires were still inflated and there was no fluid leaking from the engine. "Way to go, Steve-O," I said to myself. Steve had done exactly what he was taught. Avoid hitting the deer if possible, but if hitting the deer isn't avoidable, hit it as slowly as possible to minimize damage. I checked out the rest of the truck looking for flat tires, broken lights, anything that might keep us from going on towards Portland. I then tried to find the deer, not wanting to leave a large animal carcass on the interstate that would take out an unwary Prius, but it was nowhere to be seen. Since it obviously wasn't in the middle of the road, I decided to get moving along. I climbed back into the truck and Steve was still in the driver's seat, sweating bullets despite the 20-degree temperature outside. "Oh man," Steve said, barely holding back the tears, "I'm gonna get fired." Steve was barely into his second week, and any safety violation could lead to termination. However, as his trainer, I had decided what constituted a safety violation. "You're not getting fired, Steve," I reassured him. "Look, you hit a deer, it happens. But you did everything right. You slowed down, you kept the truck right side up, and the damage isn't bad." Steve was a little relieved. "Don't we have to report this?" "Yeah, I'll take care of it," I replied, taking the computer. "There's a rest area about 20 miles up the road. Get us there and we'll call it a night." Steve looked out the windshield and noticed the headlight. Can we drive with a headlight out? Legally, we can't begin a trip with a damaged headlight, I explained, but the damage occurred in transit, and since the truck is still mechanically drivable, we have to continue until we can find a safe, legal place to stop. Oh, right, Steve said, and finally started to relax. He released the brakes and got us moving again while I sent our report to dispatch. I made sure my description of the accident painted Steve in the best possible light. Steve had a rough first week, and I could tell he was very nervous. Like me, he had taken a huge risk by quitting his old job and becoming a truck driver. I knew of several trainers in the company that would have read the riot act to him and put him off the truck. While I had a reputation for breaking less committed students, I was equally known for being fair and having my rookies back when they deserved it. By the time we got to the rest area, I had sent the report to dispatch and informed them we'd be shutting down until the morning. I instructed them to inform maintenance to make arrangements with a shop I knew of along our route to get a replacement headlight the next morning. I also read the report aloud for Steve's sake, so he would know that I wasn't going to throw him under the bus. The next morning, I took over and drove us to the repair shop. Fortunately, the weather was clear, so the headlights weren't needed. The drive was uneventful, but that would prove to be the only uneventful part of the day. I pulled into shop, conveniently located at a truck stop, and checked in with the front desk. To no one's surprise, the maintenance department had completely dropped the ball and failed to make the arrangements. To make matters worse, the shop didn't have a replacement headlight in stock, and given that it was a Sunday, they wouldn't be able to get one until the next morning. This was a problem, since the DOT regulations made it very clear that a trip cannot begin unless all required vehicle lights were in working order, and the delivery deadline was set for 6 p.m. I went back to the truck and filled Steve in on the situation. I had already decided to use this as a teaching moment for Steve about handling maintenance situations. I sent a message to dispatch telling them that delivery would be late due to a bad headlight. And that's where things got interesting. A common theme with trucking companies is that weekend dispatch staff can be graded a lot like high school sports teams. Weekday dispatchers are the first string, weeknights would be second string, and weekends, well, let's just say that when you put these guys in the game, you really have nothing to lose at that point. When our dispatcher, let's call him Aaron for reasons that will become obvious, responded, he couldn't understand why we chose to shut down. When I explained to him again that as per DOT regulations, the truck was not in roadworthy condition, it might seem nitpicky, but I had already had an unpleasant run-in with the Oregon DOT and realized that they don't have much love for commercial trucks. Besides, if I got a ticket for faulty equipment, dispatch would deny ever telling me just go. Aaron replied with what had to be the most asinine remark I have, to date, ever heard from a dispatcher. His response was, and I quote, "Is it dark outside?" Apparently, this bench warmer was just promoted from towel boy. "Hey Steve," I said to my student, "this isn't on your grade sheet, but today you're going to learn how to deal with idiot dispatchers." I had his attention. One thing all trucks in our company were required to carry was a current edition of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, or FMCSR for short. Not exactly a page turner, but it does come in handy. I wrote a reply to Aaron telling him that, as the driver of the vehicle, I felt that the damaged headlight violated regulations, and therefore we were down until it could be repaired. In an attempt to be diplomatic, I told him that once the headlight arrived, I could replace it myself in a few minutes instead of waiting hours for an open spot at the shop. Aaron, however, didn't like that. "You have to deliver the load today. You don't need to wait for a new headlight." Why did I give this dispatcher the name Aaron? Well, a few weeks before this, I had seen a video clip from Key & Peele. It was a video of a former inner-city school teacher substituting for a suburban science class. It was sent to me by a former student, and we had been quoting it ever since. When the last reply came in, a quote from that clip went through my head. "You done messed up, Aaron, you done messed up." "Okay, Steve," I said, taking out my copy of the SMCSR. "Now, I'm going to show you how to use this thing." After my months-long adventure with First Kevin, I learned that a driver has to be able to look out for himself. Dispatchers only cared about getting loads delivered and not getting blamed for problems. I also learned that, despite a company saying that safety is our top priority, they tend to get amnesia about that when their boss comes down on them from a customer complaint. Having a backbone is an unspoken requirement for a trucker. I went through the book and looked up every single regulation regarding lights on a commercial vehicle and included it in my reply to Aaron. I wrote down every regulation verbatim, including the numerical code for each regulation. I also pointed out that nowhere in the FMSCR did regulations grant an exemption for clear daytime weather. Furthermore, since the company was listed as a forced dispatch company, meaning I could not refuse an assignment, I had to follow his instructions. But seeing as how I had repeatedly said that the truck was not roadworthy, that the company would be held responsible for any violation incurred, since the entire exchange was documented. A driver who had a busted headlight would get a ticket, but a company who told the driver to drive with busted headlight would get an investigation that would make a prostate exam feel like a massage by comparison. I didn't wait for Aaron to reply before heading out. Halfway to the delivery, I heard the computer ding. Steve, who was riding shotgun, picked it up and read Aaron's reply. He wants us to wait till tomorrow. Too late, I said. There's nowhere to turn around. That wasn't a lie, since Portland isn't very truck friendly. We made the delivery and I drove us to another truck stop south of Portland that also had a repair shop. We managed to avoid any encounters with Johnny Law, although I was somewhat disappointed since that would have been a real learning experience for Aaron. But you can't have everything. I pulled into the truck stop and checked with the shop. Of course, they didn't have a replacement headlight in stock either, and it would be the next day before they could get it. I went back to the truck, filled Steve in on what was going on. I then decided to word my update for my new friend Aaron. I took the computer and wrote, "We made delivery as instructed and are now shut down at a truck stop. I have already made arrangements with the shop for a new headlight. They said it would be late tomorrow before they can get us in, so I'll replace it myself once it comes in. Until then, we are not going anywhere. I will let you know when we are good to go." Steve was a little nervous. He was young and had never seen someone stand up to their boss before. I told him not to worry since this whole ordeal would be on me, and I had a history with things like this. After all, if they chose to fire me, a little email to the DOT containing a few screenshots would look very good for a wrongful termination lawsuit. Aaron's eventual reply was only 3 words, "Okay, sounds good," and that was the last I ever heard from him. The next morning, the shop called to let us know our headlight had come in. Steve and I managed to install it very quickly and let dispatch know we were ready to go. After half an hour, my fleet manager called me. Bear in mind, this was the same fleet manager I had during the first Kevin fiasco. "OP, what the hell is going on?" she asked. "I'm assuming you mean the thing with Aaron? You really scared that guy," she said. She went on to explain that Aaron had taken the issue to his supervisor, who, as it turned out, explained to him that you never go against a driver's assessment regarding safety or mechanical issues. He told him that had I gotten a ticket, the company would be liable. I found the whole thing hilarious. I don't know what to tell you, fleet manager. Just stop being so hard on the new guys, please, she asked in a slightly motherly tone. "I'll try, promise," I said, and hung up. Before long, she sent us another load, and we were off. And there, the story ends. I apologize if this tale isn't in the same league as my previous installments, but this was just a one-off. I've read all the messages you've sent to me over the past year, and not being able to make regular posts have been on my mind constantly. Unfortunately, I can't promise I'll post with any regularity, but like I told Fleet Manager, I'll try. Promise. Until next time, this is Strongbad Jr. signing off. Jumping down to the comment section in this one, there's one from a user called Latence. It says, "Funny, good for Aaron though that he told his supervisor he messed up instead of, I don't know, trying to burn down the building to destroy all record of him ordering you to continue driving, or something equally ineffective and disastrously stupid. At least he will never make the same mistake again." OP responded to this comment and said, "I think it was more that he thought I messed up, only to find out he was in the wrong in a big way. I just hope he brought an extra pair of underwear that day. I can completely agree with the commenter in this case because, if you make a mistake but then you tell somebody about it, it's a learning experience, don't do it again, mistakes happen, etc, etc. But if you try to cover it up or try to put the blame on someone else, well, that's really gonna come down on you, because that's not just a mistake, that tells them a lot about your character. And if you're willing to cover up something like that, what else are you not telling them? That's a huge liability for a company, and they're not gonna keep you around. I was super excited to see there was another update from Strong Bad Jr. and another installment in the Kevin in a Big Rig series. Now, I ask you all, go to Reddit, go to the link in the description down below, let Strong Bad Jr. know how much you enjoy their writing, and encourage them to keep it up, because these stories are amazing. I know you all love them just as much as I do, and definitely want to see more. Strong Bad Jr., I know you're listening to this. Keep writing, my friend. We all absolutely love it. Check out OP, linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.